We're going to talk about whether or not I can truly gain somebody 30 yards in a fitting, why that accomplished, if it did, and a couple of builds that we did, and what's in the glass tonight, all in what's in my drawers golf talk next. Welcome back to What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Jim McCleary here. And why is it What's in My Drawers? Because old club makers and club fitters are tremendous pack rats, and I am no different. It's about what's in my drawers over here in the shop, where we talk about golf club repairs, reviews, and fittings, all so your scores can go low. If you would, read this thing that's going right about here. It says like and subscribe, smash that notification bell, and that way more of this information gets out to the YouTube universe. Now, I have really not put out too many videos. Business has been busy and we've been taking trips. However, I do have one, and we're going to talk about a wedge and how it worked and how we were able to make it more custom. So we're going to go from there. All righty, so getting started, what did we build this week? Well, we built quite a bit, but the Mizuno 925s are already starting to fly off. I did a set of Mizuno Hot Melt Pros. I did a set of Mizuno Hot Metals, and we put those shafts in them. Those are the TGI 60s for a 70-year-old golfer, and it was really amazing. More and more I do this, the more and more I am convinced that the right length of the golf club is what's paramount in actually hitting a very, very good shot, whether it be a half inch short, an inch long, whatever it is you need. This one here in particular that I made, those shafts right there, that was literally an inch short. And when I do that, I go 3/8 inch increments instead of half-inch increments. And in this particular one, since the club was very, very light, I added I had a 10 grammer I cut down to about 4 grams and added in there just so he could have a little bit more head feel. Now, the golfer was 70 years old. That's the reason why the 60s worked. But even you can go a little too light, and so I put a little bit more in there. But boy, oh boy, did he hit him good. And the Mizuno Hot Metal Pros are turning out to be a game changer, and you'll see that here in a little bit. Also, what we had, had quite a few fittings this week. Missing McGolf has been keeping me busy, as long with the weekday fittings and whatnot. So we had a tremendous amount of fittings, including a pair that we will run something for you here on in just a second. I started another project with another barrel. I spent some time sanding it, and the bonehead in me finally came out, and I was wondering why I couldn't sand that daggone thing very well. And it's really hard to sand when your variable speed sander is set on the lowest setting instead of on the highest. The minute that I set it on the highest, all of a sudden it came alive and I was able to eat a bunch of wood, and it was all that and easier to do. So pro tip, check the speed on your, on your sander depending on how much you want to remove. Oh my God. Alrighty. Also, as you guys may have been watching the Instagram or even my Facebook, I've been doing the 30 Days of Bourbon Challenge, and we're almost done with it. It's day 23 out of 30. And today we used a picture of me being here, and we're using that. And what that is, this is Glenn's Creek. Glenn's Creek is is stationed in the original, we'll call it Old Crow Distillery, and they are doing bourbon their way and only their way, and they have their way of doing it. A bunch of good folks. It's actually very good-natured folks, but man, it's way back there. And you go past a couple of one-lane roads to get there, but it has just a ton of potential. And this is the model here is stave and barrel, 108 proof, and it's very good too. Hand filtered. As part of it, the Bourbon Banter group wanted us to show how we were sharing it, and so I shared it with my dad. And there we go. So there we go. So I'd like to show you more pictures, but apparently Apple and Microsoft apparently are not liking each other. I can download everything, but I just can't put it into the pictures for some reason. And that's the reason why you only got that picture. Otherwise, you'd have had a whole bunch more. So it gets us into our fitting. All righty. So what did we do? Today is we're talking about can you get a lot of yardage on the fitting? The answer is yes. Everybody averages about, you hear the advertisements out there and at least 10 yards and stuff like that. Well, sometimes that's not true either, but when they say average, you can get away with a lot. Okay? You can get away with a lot. Now, what I would like to see is a combined average. How much do you get on your irons and how much do you get on your woods? And also, when we talk about fittings, we cannot forget the putter. Okay, we cannot forget the putter. The putter is probably one of the more important clubs in that bag in order for you to lower your score. In this particular case, and you'll hear me repeat it, but we had two golfers come from Beckley. One was one heck of a putter, and the other one was fighting his putter for just like for dominance, just to go golfing. And once we put him in the right height and then the right lie angle, all of a sudden he was able to see the line of the putt, and he started making them just as easily as his buddy did. To the point, I gave him a putter because he needed something that was an inch over standard, and I gave it to him out of the grip, and he started putting lights out, lights out. And so that was the way, that's the way fittings go. To the point, the guy that was putting really well, I showed him a couple of things and bent his putter, and he even putt better if that could be there. So let me give you this. This is going to be about a 9-minute, but stay with me because there's a lot of information that's in here, and we will get you started here in just a second. Get up here. And here we go. All right, some fitting results. We did some fittings all week long, but by far and away the most interesting was the last one I did. It was a pair of golfers from Beckley, West Virginia, hours away. So thank you guys for showing up. And it's not on here, but I can say JT was one heck of a putter, and we were able to still make him better. The other golfer, Tink, he really did not like his putter, and because it was about 2 inches too short, and it was also a little bit off in the way that he had a face balance and he needed a little bit of a toe droop, and that was happening. To the point, I gave him a putter that did not have a grip on it, and he just started putting lights out. So he came away a little bit happier than that. So back to JT and his iron game. We talked about his iron game. He was pretty much about a 180 type guy with the type of irons that he had. Now, these guys are both playing to an 11 handicap, so they got some game. And JT had a very long swing with a lot of articulation. And once we figured out where he needed his forgiveness at, then all of a sudden it worked out pretty good. So what we went into, just to make a long story short, we went to the Mizuno Pro, the new 925 Mizuno Pro, and I put some Modus 120Ss. Now, he was swinging very, very close to the X-Flex range, so why not X-Flex? Because his swing was so long, it wasn't nearly as aggressive as one would think as it looked, speed versus the aggression. So in reality, it took a long time for him to deliver the club, so he needed a little bit of bend in the shaft in order to get it there. And when he did, as you guys can tell, 209 to 220, hit at 136. Now this is with an iron. That is just stupendous. I gave him the Dynaforge with that and a 195 204, which is a stout, very stout shot. And then I gave him the 245 and just a little bit behind it. Hit a little bit better, but not as fast. Okay, so therein lies what happens when you can get the appropriate makeup, because these are all very equivalent in their loft angles. So it's not like one is super weak and the other ones are not. Now, as you can tell, I gave him the TI Fusions, and that had a much heavier shaft in it, and he really just didn't like it. So there we go with that one. So if we looked at some groupings real quick, and we looked at it, so we get into here, and there's the Pro. It's at the 4 It's in between, it's only 10 yards off each way. There's the Modus 245. We like that pattern, but we didn't like the short. And then the Fusion, not very good. And then the Dynaforge, very similar to the other one. So what we see is that that one won the day, and he was pretty happy with that. Now let's move on to some other, either the iron or the woods. Let's find out. Okay, well, JT, we're going to stay with him, and we got him into a driver. And we figured out, now JT was a shorter guy, and he was swinging a regular club. We found out that he hit the 44-inch club a lot better than he hit the 45 or even the other one. Now, when we were testing, he was choking down about an inch, which put him in this neck of the woods and just started hammering it. Okay, so we got him. So we got him the Smoke Max with the Denali X, 250, 275 with a 141 smash factor, spin rate just a tad high for somebody with that kind of swing speed, and we went with that. Then I had him bring out his driver. His driver went better at 257, 277. Wasn't hitting as good, but swung a little faster, which in reality could have made up for this difference right here. Then I hit him with the Smoke triple diamond with the Denali in a softer shaft, and all of a sudden things woke up. He got about another 6 yards in carry, and he went really far in the total distance. And if we look at it, it's almost 20 yards. He's so 16 yards further. Hit it way, way better, and here's the big deal. He had a much, much lower spin rate, which allowed him to carry it out further. Now, another surprise that I had for him was I put the Wilson Carbon with a Shogun in there, and the Shogun Red, and let him swing it, and that beat his driver. Not an overall carry because he hit a bullet, but in overall distance it did. He hit it way better at a lower spin rate. Now, I put all these guys out there just to see where we were at again, and we go backwards. There's the Shogun. It's missing one, but it really went out there. There was one sitting in the middle. That was the 41. Oh, that was with a different Shogun. Never mind. Here it is. This is the one. He put two down the middle, and then he pulled one, and we know what he did there. And that was what we were trying to prevent. There's the Denali with the S-Flex, and then his driver, and then the Denali with the X-Flex. So they appear to be tight, but they're ever increasing going out. This one is, he had one down the middle, of course he was hooking it, and he gets this one, and all of a sudden he's just right down the middle. This is the clear winner, right? Very clear winner where, you know, it's also the longest and it's also the straightest. So what is wrong with that? All right, let's move on to Tink. Now, Tink was another one that we like seeing on this one, where we had him hitting his 7-iron, and we compared it with the rest. So if we go down here, his 7-iron is 124, 150. Now, it was poorly struck, we have to say that, but he was swinging apparently right in that same neck of the woods. As soon as I gave him a club that was a little bit longer, right, a little bit longer, and we went 1 inch longer because he was a very tall golfer. The very first club I gave him just walloped it, right? He went almost 25 yards. Well, it was over 25 yards of carry and 9 yards. So he carried it way longer and had a lot of spin rate and hit it very well. Then I gave him the 200 model and with one up, and he carried a little bit more. Then I gave him the AI 300, and all of a sudden it's 160, 168, and there it is. Now it was funny that he hit my he hit my demo club as the number one because of total length, and it's because he hit a skidder and it rolled out there forever. But as you can tell, it didn't carry as far. So the AI 300 2 up with the 100R produced a result that literally was almost 40 yards. So we say 35 yards further and another 18 yards further in total distance, spinning it better and hit it a colossal amount better. So we did that. So we got him putting better and we got him hitting irons better. Now let's see about this driver. Okay, the driver might be a different one than you think. I let him hit his driver. It was just shy of 200 to 233, and we figured out he needed a 44 and a half. It was a little bit taller. He had some longer arms in this case, the way that he swung. I gave him the Smoke Max, and immediately we won the battle with 20 yards further and another basically 15 yards further. He's swinging a little bit faster, but again, it's a battle of spin rates in order for him to get it to carry out. However, I said, let's check out something else. So I gave him the Wilson Carbon and then the Shogun and an M5. Of course, he doesn't have the swing speed for it, but I wanted to show him what it could do, and he beat the Smoke Max by 6 yards and 4 yards. And he hit it way better with a spin rate that was similar. I said, well, let's tone this down just a little bit. So I gave him a red one with only in a stiff flex, and next thing you know, he's carrying it another, what is that, 7 more yards and another 6 more yards, hitting it better with the spin rate lower. So that one wins the day, and he's hitting it literally 33 yards further, and he got another 22 yards out of it and did very, very well. So not bad at all. So again, we got to see how it grouped, and we go back. There's the Wilson Carbon. He had 2 within play, and that one got away from him, but what it was, I had him at the end of his swings, and he was letting things go to the right, but he knew that, so we did that all right. Then here's the Shogun with the M5. That's a very, very tight, so it's still working better, but I still like the other one. And then here was the Tennessee Blue, the Tennessee Blue with the Smoke Max. Just tight as all get out, but I don't know if I'm willing to give up 15 or 20 yards. And then his driver was all over the map. Alrighty, so that's what we're looking at when we see, when we're doing driver fittings. This one just happened to be a real dominant plus as we see his driver. And we go to this one, we get him going here. And, you know, just this one alone, even though it may not be the winner, you can tell it's clearly a better club because, you know, look at the tightness of this. All right, so we saw a lot of improvement from what a fitting can do. And a lot of it came from, number one, putting them in the right length of the club. Number two, particularly the irons, giving them the right lie angle. They were both playing some very nice clubs. They were playing one was playing the Mizuno Tours, and the other one was playing an Apex Pro. Now, the Apex Pro isn't necessarily a lower or a weak lofted club. It's not. Now, the Mizuno Pro was, or the Mizuno Tour was, and we talked about that, but I think he was okay going from, because he wasn't hitting it very far. Even with that massive swing speed that he had, you know, it was in that 175, 180, which is still a pretty good 6-iron. However, where they were playing, he was looking for a little more yardage, and that's what we got him. Now, when it comes down to it, you know, I thought, well, maybe the 245 is just a tad weaker, and I've seen people actually hit it better than the Hot Metal Pro. In this case, that was just not it. So he was much, much better. And the driver, he had this case of the hooks. That was his miss. He once we got him stood up and he was hitting it right, hooks were his problem. So we gave him the Triple Diamond, which was a fade bias club. And when it was a fade bias club, man, oh man, it just lit up. And he was just like, yep, this is what we need. And then we got to Tink, and certainly he is much taller. He's, you know, easily, you know, 6'4", 6'5", and had an abbreviated swing. And when he got through the ball, when he decided to get through the ball, because he was taller, and that was the thing, he was fading everything. And that was because he was all bent over, and it was really hard to come up out of being bent over with a square face. You always turn the thing over, and that's hard, right? And so we get him in the proper posture in order to make sure that you could go through it. Next thing you know, you're making a good turn, you're making good contact, your swing speed went up just because he was able to use his whole body instead of just his upper body. And then all of a sudden, what really got his attention was the TI Carbon and the Shogun, the Shogun Red. The Shogun Red has been a real performer for us so far. If you've not had a chance to try it, I'd recommend it. It is an excellent quality shaft. In fact, it's a top-notch quality shaft, and not at a top-notch quality price. It is more expensive than your average one, but this made in Japan, I've measured them all. They're in really good shape. And so far they've proven their worth, to be sure. Alrighty, so we got through all that, and you know, in all cases, and then we even talked about wedges. one guy, it was funny, the guy that was a good iron player didn't like his wedges, but the guy that was a struggle with his irons was a good wedge player. I don't understand that so much, but we got the guy that didn't like the wedges swinging the wedges confidently. And again, what we looked at were opus, the opus wedge in the W grind for him because he was not a fancy golfer, and the W grind's not so wide that it's gross, and he was just getting through it, making good contact. Where on the other side of it, with Tink, we ended up giving him something a little fancier in the sole in order for him to open it and get it around. And once we gave him something taller, it was really good. Now, the last bit of this for the fitting is Tink had some pretty big hands. And so we tried him on Jumbo Max because he liked the Jumbo feel. He thought it was way better than all the other stuff. And I started handing him Jumbo Max, which is these guys back here. And we got to the medium. I said, okay, let's try the medium. And we had the ultralight and we had the tour, and it was night and day difference. Again, just like Jumbo Max and our testing has shown, one or the other you hit very, very well. And he liked the heavier one where his hands had the feel of it versus the head of the club. And as soon as he did that, it was bap, 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 3 right down the middle. And I think we made him into a believer. That's where it goes. So there we are. So that's fitting. And yes, we did get him 30 yards. And if nothing else, we got him 30 yards with both iron and driver, and for one, and then for the other one was still pretty substantial. But it's it was eye opening, the difference that kind of stuff can make. All right, let's go answer some questions. All righty, John's number one this time around. Greetings, everyone from Myrtle Beach. What do you say, buddy? Should be starting to turn, getting a little cooler, I hope. Charlie made it in. How are you, sir? My dog Rex, giving it the thumbs up, everybody. Appreciate that. All righty. Good evening from Mr. Anderson in Scotland. Where's he at? Big excitement this week. Dunhill in town at the old course. Oh, that would be awesome. I imagine that's a lot of fun to watch. It's funny. I've been there, been to the old course, and just the way that they take to golf there and how they walk around, and it's just and I like the history of Scotland and the St. Andrews, where in the beginning, that's where you did archery, that's where you did farming, and oh, by the way, now we're golfing, and that it carries over, and although a lot less rural, but it still carries over. You walk across the fairway on 18, go see the beach, go see the water and the Thames, and it's really cool. The attitude is just really, really cool. And then if you get a chance, go up and around the corner of the Dun Vegan and get you some fish and chips. Man, oh man, is that stuff good up there. All right, John wants to know, lie angles, how does it affect the swing? Too upright or too flat? Well, John, it depends. I have yet to come across somebody who has modified their swing for their lie angle. What I have really come across is the effects of lie angle on their swings. Okay, it's kind of a backwards thought, and you might find people that the tradition would show. Tradition would show that if you were hitting in the toe, that you would do this, and you would open it up, and it would push you off to your outside. Okay, and if you were hitting in the heel, that you would want to do this, and it would help you, and it would shut you down. However, that's tradition. And what we have found out that yes, you can still get into the middle, and you'll get hooked up, and it'll still open up. And yes, you can still get through it, but it's a delay, and it's not very good. But in any case, it doesn't feel good. It sucks. All right. And the idea here is, if you find out and you go and golfers are exploratory, and you find yourself hitting in here that they might push their hands down, or the other way, they might pronate the wrist and go up, and then that's what impacts the swing. You could also, it could give you an unsure swing, right? If you're trying to flatten it out and you're going the wrong way, you're like, geez, what do I do? Because 1 out of every 3 shots is really good. And you're going, well, look, I hit it this one time. And so the rest of them should follow suit. When in reality, the the bigger number where you're missing should give you your answer versus that one time. Because let's face it, we're all golfers, right? We all go out there and we hit our one really good drive and we go, that's it. That's why I'm coming back, because I know I can do that. Except for you doinked 5 in a row and you're like, well, that was just me because I know I can hit it good because I hit that one good. How about we go back out there and we try and figure out how to hit the other 5 good and doink just the one? And hence, that's the fitting. All right. Miss McGolf is out there. She's listening. I saw her kind of sleeping earlier. Let's see. Yep. She's looking. She's out there. Good deal. Charlie says Saturday was a rain out. I'm glad you guys got some rain. We got rain for about 5 minutes, like it was pouring water out of a boot, and then it disappeared. Then later on in the middle of the night when we were sleeping, apparently it wetted down everything. Now the clouds are out, but it's all nothing more than a threat. We could use a little bit more rain. I'm not going to say, I'm not praying for it, but we could use it. Robin talking there. Hi, Robin. Hi, my dog Rex. There we go. Kent, my brother and sister-in-law are over from the States this week, so hopefully golf tomorrow morning, weather permitting. Well, congrats, man. Good deal. And where are they from? There you go. You can play in the rain, snow, or weather. What weather? Well, Ken is a very stoic golfer. He's a very stoic golfer. I had to pick my words carefully, but I think that's a good name. He's a stoic golfer. All righty. Steven, what do you say from Murfreesboro, Tennessee? Shot an 87. You guys are all over it this time around, making me feel bad. Oh, I just almost dropped a club. On Saturday was 6 doubles. Well, let's see. That's 6. If you just make them bogeys, that's an 81. That's pretty good. Shot an 82 on Sunday. Hey, you got rid of that. I tell you, I'd be dangerous if I could ride out those stinking doubles. Yeah, it just depends, Stephen, where you're making your doubles at. Are you 3-putting, or are you missing a chip, or where's it coming from? That's what I started doing that last year, year before. I started recording all my putts because I knew my putts were giving me severe heartache. And because I started concentrating on that, now even Bob's like, yep, you're writing those down. And it's very rare. It's very rare that I have a 3-putt. Now I do have them. I used to have them 5 and 6 times around, and I've got it down to one time or maybe 2 times around, and that's a big deal. I mean, that's a huge deal. All righty. Oh, they moved to Wisconsin from Arizona. Boy, oh boy, you talk about 2 different weather climates. You went from being summer all year round to summer for about 4.5 minutes. So good luck. My sister lives in Wisconsin, just right over the edge of Illinois, and it's a pretty cool place. I still like the Jelly Belly factory that's right down the street from them. If you like jelly beans, that is the one. That's it, Stephen. Work on getting rid of those doubles, no doubt. There's Al from Space Coast. What do you say, sir? Steven says, Charlie, the next it will be to get the ride of Mr. 3-Jack. Aha, so we did figure it out. Oh, good for you. I know, Charles, but as much rather enjoy the outing than struggle that around that place. Yes. She sees that as being backwards because she likes the heat. Here we go. John Oh, I'm sorry, John. I'm going to make this Logidis. Have you tried Horse Soldier? I have not. I have not tried it, but I have a bottle on my shelf. I've seen mixed reviews, man. I've seen mixed reviews. There's some that are like, and then there's some that's really surprisingly good. And the reason why I bought it is exactly what's on that label is the horse soldier. And for those of you who don't know what that's all about, the horse soldier is about some special ops guys that were overseas during a conflict, and I won't go into all the detail. And what they did is, in order to get around, they rode horses, and they became known as the horse soldiers. And they were pretty badass. And so they got out and they decided to start, like most people, let's make whiskey. And so they got their own. And it supports that. And they do stuff with the military. And hence, that's the reason why I bought the bottle. And hence, it's still on there. So let me know what you think, John. I would really like to know from somebody who's had some. I wouldn't mind, I probably should bust it open on the 30 days thing and just see what it's all about. But I've had it for a bit. Normally, I'm a sucker for a couple of things in bourbon. Number one is if they have the Build-A-Bear bourbon, which is where you can thieve it or mix it or get it on your own. I'm in. The other one is if somebody's doing something special with it. For instance, Jay Mattingly was giving proceeds to the local fire department, or there was a fund for the military that was involved in Mogadishu and stuff like that. So I pled my case. I went down there and I said, okay, you guys are doing some good work. How about throwing a little love towards the Navy, man? Let's throw a little love towards them and hook us up a little bit. Oh, and they kind of did one of those. I said, don't be doing that. You're doing good work. Let's just throw some extra. Let's throw a little bit of that bourbon love around. But if you ever get a chance, man, that Glenn's Creek, it is unique. That is the best way to say it. They're a good bunch of guys. They come off hard nosed, but they're far from it. All right, far from it. All righty. I had no doubt. David Curl, what do you say, man? Hope you're well too. Oh, wait a minute. What we got there? I like the glass. I like the glass. That's pretty cool. Kent, playing golf in Kingdom should be an experience unto itself, whether not a matter. I'd have to say so, man. You got to go, Charlie. You got to go prepared, man. You just don't go over there naked. That's for sure. You bring your rain gear because give it a minute and the weather will change. That is for sure. We played Scotland at King's Barnes, and I bet I put on my rain gear 3 times, and all 3 times it just came down sideways. And I was playing with a bunch of these folks from Japan, and they were all so small they were hiding behind their umbrellas. They were squatting down behind their 60-inch umbrellas, and I'm with these other guys. They're all standing there with their gear on, and they had their rain hats on from their from the jacket. Well, I didn't have that, and so I just manned it up and put my right here, and I was just looking at him. I said, "Are we going to do this or what?" And the guy pulls out a club and says, "Here, hit the thing," and I hit a 5-iron. 200-yard club. I hit a 5-iron, 130 yards into the drizzle, into the rain, into the wind, the whole 9 yards. But I got it on the green. So it's you got to go with a different attitude. I like thinking that when we go out there, because I ran into rain in Scotland and I ran into rain in Ireland. And the funny part is I didn't play too bad in either one. But you got to think of like you're a duck. Brian Arnold, I'm back on and I played good today. Time for some makers. Nice. And he has 2 fittings tomorrow. Well done, sir. So the makers, have you tried the one that's really out of range for me right now is that Cellar Age, only because I live with Mrs. McGolf. I live with Mrs. McGolf. I guess that's a statement in all its own. Mrs. McGolf and I live here in Waverly, and it's considered a village or even what would be a small city. And Ohio is a controlled state, so they always will favor the high volume versus the people that would buy it no matter what, and that kind of stuff doesn't get here. Although 46 and Cast Strength does, and we made a visit to we did make a visit to Makers, and I bought 2 bottles there. And then we were at Jungle Gyms in Cincinnati, and they had the heart cut, and so I got one of those. So I got plenty of makers in there, just waiting for that to find that home run. And but if you ever, again, I'm giving Glenn's Creek a lot of love because it's funny. You get on their door and it says, "Hey, if you want to know more about this, they have a special edition stave and barrel, and if you want to know how to get contacted by him, it tells you. He says you got to like us a lot, and they got this list of how you do it. It's pretty funny, but it's pretty good. All righty. Travis K says, "Hey Jim, is there a rule of thumb for how much heavier your wedge shaft should be than your iron shaft?" No rule of thumb per se. However, right around 10 grams is a good number, but that's not hard and fast. What we're seeing popular right now is what we're seeing right now is that same weight is picking up steam as far as a preference, and I think that's mostly for folks that are getting started, might or might have maybe a swing issue, and it doesn't hurt them to have it. But I prefer to have my irons or my wedges just a hair heavier, whether it's 5 grams, whether it's 10 grams. That's in a good number. You start getting at 20, 30, and all of a sudden you got to start making changes in the way that you swing. And again, that's something to look at too. That's a good. Travis is asking me an open door question here. Is how would you know that? Well, handing folks some of these because wedges are finesse shots, right? And can you get away with a heavier club? You most certainly can. If you're maybe not quite as strong, can you get away with a weaker one? For sure, right? My buddy Bob is swinging. The dude is a machine when it comes to the wedge, and he's swinging an 80-gram shaft in his, and he is throwing it around like he owns it. Me, I've got 105, no, 115 in mine, but I also got the 100s in mine, so it's not too bad off. And it's just because I've been lazy and haven't changed them. But that's where that's at. But on the average, right around 10 is the standard, what we would call standard, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Don't lower your picks just because it doesn't come in your weight, right? Because let's say you want a Modus and it's 105 and 115, and you're swinging 100s. 105 works fine. 115 could work fine. It just depends on the golfer. Brian, I got one more thing to show you since you're new to the group here. Look, I made one of these. Pars to Pours, man. Nice bottle opener. That, huh? Not bad for a golfer guy. Okay. God will be watching us in his country. There you go. Right on, man. Okay, Robin's talking. There's Lawrence. What do you say, buddy? How's those shorter clubs working out? Shorter driver. And so will Seamus. Oh, man. Okay. Brian says, talking about putters, I fit with the Sam Lab. What do you think of that system? Brian, it gives a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I'm not a fan. I really hate putting this stuff down the road on this, okay? So here's how I start with this. You know, we all use launch monitors, and it's to gain very useful information of how much spin, what's the face angle doing, what's our path doing, and also how's it fly, and what's the grouping. And that could be just as important a parameter as all those other things that are out there, right? So on a putter, what's the most important part of a putter? It's being able to make a damn putt, right? And you can have all that information, and if you can't put it together to help that putter or help that golfer make a better putt, then all that technology is for naught. Okay. And if you get through some of the basics, and I was an absolute steadfast, don't need it kind of guy. All right. And the reason being was the thing that you clip onto the club, although they say you put it in the balance point so it doesn't affect it, there's still a total weight impact there. And so that's where I get out of it. Now, is it a good system? Yes, it gives you a truckload of information, and I like the graphics, right? It's easy to understand just by looking at it, okay? So, yes, am I giving it down the road? Well, about halfway, right? It does have redeeming values on it for the putter. I just wish that better we had better out there. The Quintic is really nice, but unfortunately, I don't do enough putter business to spend $10,000 on a high-speed camera. From an affordable approach, I've adapted the Capto, and the Capto is something that's literally like it's in the tens of grams, and it connects into the same exact spot that the SAM does, and it gives me all kinds of the same information, if not more, and is a very, very cool technique. So, if you're having tremendous success with it and guys are making more putts, then it's a great system. If guys are coming back away and they're going, then we probably need to rethink. There's Super. What do you say? So here we go. Pinehurst number 2 is in his future. He got a job. Oh, I thought you were going to go work with the. Yeah. So you said Pinehurst number 2. So he's going to work. He's going to work on the grounds. He says, "Thanks for the advice about club fitting." He asked me about whether or not there was a place to uh, go learn about club making, which again tells me about me getting my act together. There's a Lab Works in Toronto, which seems to be the path, pun intended. Yeah. And I don't know anything about them, so I can't comment on them too much. Can't say that's for sure. Lawrence, Sean 83, best this week, haven't broke 80. +4 on the front 9 was hopeful, and then I happened. Gotcha, man. Well, hey, 83, that's pretty good. Now you got 3 more to work on. Actually, no, you have 4 or 5 to work on. That was my problem. I was always wanting to break 80, and if you go back and look at any of these things, I always attributed it to my 3 putts, the number of 3 putts. So if I shot an 83, I had 3 putts. All right. Well, unfortunately, that only gets me to 80. That is not breaking 80. 79 is breaking 80. And I was playing at JC's and I had this epiphany of how breaking 80, and I said I can't shoot for a score of 80 if that's my goal to break. You need to have a goal to shoot maybe 78, and then that way if you even miss it you get 79, and that's what I went for. And ever since then that's been my idea. Have I done it? Yes, but not very many times. Ron G, what do you say? If you're fitted for +5 irons, should your wedges also be that length? I would agree that yes, they would. Now, what I've seen, and Ron, the answer to my question, or the answer to your question is, if I'm doing it, the answer is yes. Now, what happens is I've seen in the past where when guys get wedges, they get all scrunched up and they putt or they wedge and they get up. We got to remember wedges, even though they're finesse shots, are also distance shots. So if we start the pitching wedge, the gap wedge, the sand wedge, the lob wedge, and so on, the pitching wedge and the gap wedge are still full swing clubs, and you can't get down in there. And most people don't do it. It's when that sand wedge gets in their hands, they turn into a little gnome and no, bring that thing back, swing through it, and for distance. When you're when you're doing the super finesse where it doesn't have to go very far, if you just kind of use your wrists and try and get that works every once in a while. But you start getting tired, all of a sudden you can't do that. You need to rely on bigger muscles, which is standing at the right posture or the right stance in order for you to get down into the ball. And that actually allows you to bite instead of sending things screaming across the green so that they can bounce and check. So yes. All righty, Lawrence, you're getting close. Don't give up sooner than you expect. Charlie is a perfect example of that. He flattened his clubs, and all of a sudden he's on fire. There we go. Hello, there's Peter from Myrtle Beach. 75. How do you get there, man? I received my Apex Fusions last week along with a long borrow gun safe to protect them from my son. That's awesome. That is probably right. Right, and good. Let us know what you think, man. That was really that was important. I wanted to see what you thought of them. I got one. Of course, they only sent me a right-handed one. There it is. It's a good-looking club. It's a good-looking club in the bag. It's all this black coated stuff. I don't know if it's PVD. It comes with the gold, right? And it's it's a S300. So as it say, tour issue 100. It's hard to tell what this is. Maybe it's up here some. Nope, it doesn't say. I don't know if it's a 100 or if it's a 120 or what it is. All I know is that JT did not like it. Now, he liked the other ones were softer in the middle, and maybe that's the reason why. And also, you do want to have that gun safe. RS, what's up, man? Howdy from St. Louis. It looks like a very successful club fitting. Looking forward to the President's Cup this week. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see how Mr. Bradley does since he's now part of the team. And we'll see some future captains picks out there, future captains. Uh-oh. Krister's saying it's cold. Krister's saying it's cold already, and he's in Sweden. Hopefully, we need an overview, man. With all that training that you did, were you successful in your goals? We want to hear it because you got that Titleist fitting, you got all those clubs. Did it work out for you? And all that practicing you're doing. He still owns the what is it called, the putt out. He's the only guy I know that can sit up there and rattle off single putts into that putt out. Will Darso, what do you say, man? How important is considering bounce when selecting irons? I have some ZX5s, but tend to thin shots possibly due to the high bounce. I have a shallow angle of attack. Thank you for your superb show. Okay, well, so Will, here's the thing. In full swing club, as the club gains loft, so you go from a 5, from a 5 and you go to a wedge. As the club gains loft, the lie angle becomes more important. Okay. Now, the way that the Strixons are made, they have the V sole. Now, this is ridiculous in how it is. It's really more like that, right? Where that upper part of it comes into play. But the thing here, Will, is the way that's designed is if you're starting to come into the ball and becoming a little thinner. Is that thing moving? It is moving. How's that happening? Anyway, as you get through there, that V is supposed to engage and help you get down. So you're right. There is some bounce in there, but I think that's more of the thin. I would look more as if you're standing up into the swing, right? If you're barely thinning it, it might be maybe you're thinning it just because you're standing up into the swing. That's one way. Another way could be that you're cocking your wrists as you're coming through and making the club shorter as you're getting ready to hit it. And it's particularly if you're hitting them really high thin shots. If you're hitting a bullet thin shot, chances are you're popping up out of the swing. All right. One way to do that, I got something back here. One way to do that is to put if you're one of those people that grips the club like this, is to put it like this for once or twice and just see what happens. All right. Charlie's saying, Peter, you're getting smart for sure with your clubs, and I doubt your son will want a new set as he's shooting in the 60s with his old ones. No doubt, right? Man, oh man, that's a hell of a round. Uh-oh. Only round I shot 104 after I ended the season. Whoa, what happened there? That is not a Krister-like thing. Not a Krister-like thing. Oh. Bossy. Don't know what that means, but okay. There he's back. Serverge. That was a mistake. Happy Monday. Okay, that makes more sense. What do you say, Phil K? Oh, and we got Supra talking to Krister. He's from Austin. He's on the course, and he will listen later. Well, thank you, sir. Keep listening. Tell your friends while you're on the course to come listen to it, too. They were saying hi, Charles. Hello there. Jim is saying to that. Krister's like, hey, Krister, how's the driver been working out? That is a good one. And he says it was the only thing that was working in the last round. Oh, my. Oh, my. James Dunlap. Can't wait to get his Hot Metal Pros. He was the first one. I don't know if Robin told you, James, but no, wait a minute. Are we making yours right now? Yeah. Yours are, I'm trying to think of where we did this. I did the finishing touches. I think we need to put grips on them and bend them, and you're ready there. So you might be getting a phone call tomorrow. 30 minutes from his house. Oh, nice. So you are actually in St. Andrews. Or no, 30 minutes is probably that next town you keep telling us about. Jerry Smiley, what do you say hello from Texas? You ever fitted someone with a handicap in the low 20s with success? Oh, yeah. Yep. All the time. They're ones of the folks that probably get some of the biggest, from that, the sweet spot for fitting, honestly, to see this outrageously big improvement is somewhere around, a 15 to into the 20s. So when we do fittings, if you're just handing guys clubs and you're saying, here, hit this, here, hit this, which one do you think you like and is better? Is that a fitting? Oh, sorry. Is that a fitting? Well, technically, I guess you could say yes. Is it a good fitting? Well, technically, I could say no, it's not. So what you got to look at is, just like we did here when we JT and Tink, is that we talked about postures and whatnot, right? And how his JT pronated his wrist really bad, and sometimes that was what caused some of his hooks or some of his off center shots. We talked about holding it a little bit more firmer. We also talked about making the turn into the ball. Tink was a little bit different with the fact that he was a little abbreviated in his swing. Okay, but as soon as as soon as you got taller, now you remove all that stress from the bottom part of your back, and it's in the middle of your back. And once he starts doing that, now he's getting sore in the middle of his back because he haven't used that for very long, but it's there, right? And then what allowed him to do is to finish up here as opposed to finish very low with the club open because he just couldn't get it there. So there are things you have to deal with if you're doing a fitting right. You got to deal with some swing intricacies. You don't have to give a lesson. You just have to say, hey, if you did this, if you did that, sometimes it takes and sometimes it doesn't. The very, very last thought I gave one of the golfers was to square their shoulders to the target as opposed to being way open. As soon as we did that, we started seeing baby draws instead of baby fades. So it's all part and parcel. Charlie says, I flattened my line angles and I'm getting better turf interaction and ball flight patterns. Yes, what we talked about. Awesome. Can't wait to get new promos and get rid of that eye patch. No doubt. Awesome. All righty. There's Robin saying hello. Hey, there's the sis. What do you say, kiddo? Robin saying hello to Peter, to Will, to RS, to that, to Supra, to Phil, and to Jerry. All right. Up, Jelly Belly left and Hairbro built a factory. Try them, you'll like them. Uh-oh. No more Jelly Bellies. We got to have the other one. So that's where we're at. Oh, look at here. There's what we're talking about, James. We'll be finishing yours tonight. Tomorrow, starting on Mark's next. His heads arrive today. Nice. They're hosting here in NBL the left-handers golf tournament. Too many golfers for me playing in the wrong side of the ball. Yeah, I get that lefties. I get the lefties newsletter, Peter, And yes, they were down there, and that's like that's not the world's left-handed, but it's like the U.S.'s thing, I believe. The world is normally in Europe somewhere. There's a lot of guys on the right side of the ball, man. Rockin' Robin knows how to get them birdies. And there it is. We're talking to Al now, and there's David Curl. No. And James will finish here up soon. You're up next. He's talking from both sides. There's Frank. Okay, Garrett Clemens, your technique. Up there with it. Just get it to the hole. Okay. There's Hey-Ron. Jim, do you feel that matching up a pro or former golfer pro height to your own helps with the swing art? Gary Player's 5'6" and I'm 5'7" seems to make sense. To an extent, I mean, what you can get is, again, I would start looking at the posture and how he brings the club up and around. Now, Gary Player is one of those guys that will just be, infinite, right? I mean, look at him now. And again, if you watch, he does more push-ups than probably 10 of us combined. And can you do that? Truly. But I would say it would mimic it if you're close, right? If you have a seriously flat swing and he has one that's a little more upright, it will be incredibly difficult to get there. Now, they might get something into the middle in order to see that, but you want to be careful because sometimes you'll have a medical limitation that won't let you get to what Gary Player can do. And keep in mind what Gary Player does is because he does a workout regimen unlike anybody else and has massive amounts of flexibility and strength. And if you do have a massive amount of flexibility and strength, then yes, you can. If you are working 8 days or 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and you don't get out that often or don't work out that much, then don't have the same expectations. But try to get to where you think you're at with this and that. I like the short driver. Thanks for all your help. While I'm not out there 3-putt often, I finding single putts are too infrequent. I would have to agree. There's Super. He did get on the Pinehurst Grounds crew, but club building is a passion. Well, no problem, buddy. Anytime. Hopefully we can get there. 3-foot and missing the 3 or 6 footers. That's what he's saying here. Yes, those are no fun. They're absolutely aggressive. There's Garrett. Had 71 on Labor Day. Nicely done. There's Ron G. You're more than welcome, sir. Matt's in the house. Just got back from basketball meeting where we hired our last golf coach for the staff. Nice. Well done. He shot a 34 in his only round. 34? Hopefully that's basically 9 holes. Otherwise, you were on fire. So speaking of that, I had a buddy. How you can tell me. I had a buddy that went to a scramble, and there was a lot of folks at the scramble, and his team shot 15 under. That's a pretty righteous score for a lot of folks, right? And he said that the winning score was 24 under par, and the second team was 23 under par. That would mean that each one of those teams, at a minimum, shot 6 eagles and the rest birdies at a minimum, excluding a double eagle or something along that lines. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. And that's a lot of golf right there. And I don't know have you guys ever seen that? 24 under par for a scramble? These guys must have had some home turf advantage or they were just extraordinarily good. Yes, 9 holes. There you go. Soccer and basketball are in the future. Here we go. Happy to finally play. I was just getting tired of practicing. Subverges Sweden in Swedish. Okay, very cool. And Mrs. McGolf says, thank you, guys, and I salute you all. Guys are getting Makers or Horse Soldier or whatever it is. 30 Days of Bourbon, Bourbon Heritage Months. There was a lot going on there in the state of Kentucky for that. And right now, it was a music festival and a bourbon festival, all kinds of stuff. It was just, they know how to get her done. And she says, please hit that like button if you would. All righty, we got down to the very end. It is now 6:30. So we are going to, I think we're going to call it because I got to go do stuff. And as usual, guys, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you liked what you saw. And as always, let's see your scores. Go low.